Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. You may have noticed that I took a little bit of a break from YouTube over the summer. As a stay-at-home mom, the summer is my busiest season and I just decided to put YouTube on a back burner for a couple of months and focus on my family and our busy season. But because of that, I have so much to catch you guys up on. I have not vlogged I think at all in 3 months, and I have so many books to talk to you about. So let's get cozy and chat all the things that I read over the summer. Grab a coffee, tea, water, snack. We have 31 books to get through. I think I'm gonna go by genre. That might help organize in my brain. And if you're looking for a specific genre for me to review, you can go ahead and skip through this video. As I was going through all of these books, I noticed how many series I either continued or finished this summer, and as that is one of my biggest goals for 2025, I was actually really proud of myself, and I'm excited to see how many more series I can finish in the next few months. But seeing the progress on the series that I was making is motivating me to read more series, so we'll definitely see more of those videos on this channel for the rest of the year. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the 31 books that I read this summer. First up is actually a reread. This was my book club pick in June, I believe, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. The audiobook for this is incredible. This book follows Addie LaRue, a woman who makes a deal with an old god in the 1700s for essentially eternal life, but the catch is no one will ever remember who she is. It is a fluid timeline. We jump from present time to moments throughout her past in which she interacts with this old god Luke, and it's just so beautifully written. It is a little bit slower, but I honestly think about this book all the time. I've read it 2 or 3 times maybe, and I will definitely be rereading this again in the future. This book is so good. It's an easy 5-star for me. Next up, we have The Sirens, which is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but we actually chose this as our buddy read book for a girls trip I went on in July. This was the theme of the weekend, which was absolutely the best time I've had this year. It was so fun. This book follows 2 sets of sisters in 2 different timelines. There are a couple of mysteries that we're trying to discover, but it definitely leans a little bit more gen fic, which, as I said, is out of my comfort zone. So much of this book outraged me, but not in a bad way. There's just so many moments in which women are not believed, women are being abused or punished for something that is not their fault. The ending did fall a little bit flat for me, but it definitely made me think, and I think that was the whole point of this book. I also read I Was Feeling Epic, which is a nonfiction detailing the entire journey of the hit series The Vampire Diaries. I'm a huge Vampire Diaries fan. I've watched the show 7 or 8 times, so if that is you, definitely go ahead and pick this up. It's written in an interview style, which is so intriguing. You get perspectives of the writers, the creators, the producers, the actors. It follows the show from its inception, from development and casting all the way through the series finale. So if you love The Vampire Diaries, I highly recommend reading this one. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into romance. First up, we have Lights Out. What a fun read. I listened to this on audio, and I truly believe that is the best way to listen to this book, is dual narration, and both narrators do an incredible job of not only narrating the story, but really getting into the characters. You could hear the sarcasm, you could hear the humor through the voices, and it was one of the best audio experiences I've had in a really long time. This is about a woman who is kind of obsessed with masked men on social media. Her favorite account knows her, but she doesn't know who he is. And he kind of starts playing games with her. It goes places that you do not expect, and it's witty and wild, but it's not for the faint of heart. If you do not like dark romance, this might not be for you, but if you're interested in it, highly recommend. And then I finally finished the Chestnut Spring series with Hopeless, and to be honest, this was one of my favorites in the series. I don't know if I'm an Elsie Silver girl, but I'm glad I finally finished this series. I think I started this 3 years ago, so it was great to check off another book. I think I ended up giving this 4 stars, but honestly, I can't tell you much about this book, so maybe it's more of a 3-star for me. And I think overall, the Chestnut Spring series is a 3-star series for me as well. I'm not sure I'm a cowboy romance girly, so take that with a grain of salt. And I also finally finished the Off-Campus and Briar U series by Elle Kennedy. After I found out they were adapting the Off-Campus series into a TV adaptation, I knew I had to finish this hockey romance series. And have you seen the content coming out of this production? Like, I can't stop watching it. It's so good. I'm so excited for this show. So this summer I have to read the list because I do not remember. I read The Risk, The Score, The Goal, The Legacy, The Play, and The Dare, which I ended up DNFing, which was kind of a bummer because it was the last book, but I just did not care about this couple at all. My favorite books in this whole universe are The Score, which is Dean and Allie's book. Second in the off-campus world would be The Deal, of course. My faves for Briar U are The Risk and The Play. Let me know if you are also excited about this TV show and which couple is your favorite in this universe. I've already started the Campus Diaries, which is the spin-off series. It's like the second gen series to the Off-Campus and Briar U series, and I'm loving it. Like, I just love Elle Kennedy's writing. I think she's incredible. And the hockey romances are just chef's kiss, like the best, the creme de la creme of sports romances right now, and I cannot get enough. All right, I also read another entire series over the summer, and that is the Rebel Blue series. I started with Done and Dusted, of course, and read all through Wild and Wrangled. I read all four. I was so proud of myself that I binged an entire series. And as I said, I'm not quite a cowboy romance girly, but this just did something for me. I really enjoyed this series. If you don't know, this small town romance series follows a family who owns the Rebel Blue Ranch, and they're like the popular family in town, I would say. There are so many great tropes throughout this series. We've got brother's best friend, we've got forced proximity, we've got workplace romance, we've got a little bit of like, we gotta keep it a secret. The thing that I love about this series is not only the family dynamics, but also like the found family dynamics in here. I'm just loving the relationships, and not necessarily just between the two main characters, but the entire cast of characters is really wonderful to read. They're also very short and easy to binge. Like, you could read all four of these in a week, no problem. And I think this is more of like a 4-star series for me, so this ranks a little bit higher than the Chestnut Spring series, and I am excited to read whatever Lila Sage writes next. I also read a few romances that kind of sit at like the 3.5 stars, and that's a little bit disappointing for me because I was definitely looking forward to all 3 of these. I read Everything's Coming Up Rosie by Courtney Walsh, It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan, and Anywhere With You by Ellie Palmer. For me, these all fell very mid, and not any like all-stars in these 3 standalone romances, but I would say of the 3, my favorite was Anywhere With You. This is a friends to lovers, like second chance almost. We've got a dual timeline, and I'm finding that maybe I really love a dual timeline. I think the main characters kind of annoyed me a little bit, and that's why I didn't love it, but I did love the camper van aspect we get, and a little bit of like anything that can go wrong will go wrong in this book to bring our 2 main characters together, and I kind of loved that. But overall, I felt very mid about these 3. Another one of the big summer hits was Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood, and I really wanted to read this book, but I hadn't read Not in Love yet, so I went ahead and read Not in Love, and they are technically standalone romances, but I really do think you should read Not in Love before you read Problematic Summer Romance, just to understand the character dynamics in both of these books. Not in Love was fine. I gave it 3 stars. It was not my fave. Problematic Summer Romance, such a hit. Character, relationship, the setting, it's set in Italy, it's like so dreamy. The supporting characters, everything was just such a hit for me. And this one also has a dual timeline, so I think I just am really loving dual timeline right now. But I think this works in this book because you kind of needed to see like where their relationship was and how they got to where they are now. I mean, that's the whole point of a dual timeline, but for me it really worked in this book and was actually necessary. It was the perfect summer read, and now I only have 3 more Ali Hazelwood books to catch up on her backlist. Okay, I also had quite a few rereads this summer, and as I looked through this list, these are all YA, so maybe I just knew my comfort genre this summer. I reread Second Chance Summer by Morgan Matson. This follows a girl whose father gets diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and they decide to spend the summer at their old lake house, where she has not been since she ran away from there 5 years prior. It's an excellent look at grief, at family, at forgiveness, at friendship at a young age and what that does to you when you lose something like that so young. This book will make you cry. So if you want a good cry, pick this up. If you don't want to cry, don't read this. But this is one of my all-time favorite authors. I reread one of her books every summer. And I'm so glad I decided to pick this one up this summer because sometimes I just need like a cathartic cry, you know? I also reread the Selection series by Kiera Cass. This was for my walking book club, which is just a group of moms where we walk to a coffee shop and talk about books that we like. And we decided to all read the same book, and we ended up reading all 3 books like in a week. It was so fast. And this was a reread for me, so it was really fun to revisit that world and those characters. And I definitely think I liked it less on this reread than I have in the past. This is like the Hunger Games meets The Bachelor, if that makes any sense at all. It was really fun to go back and revisit this world, and I had a great time. I also continued my reread of Throne of Glass with both Heir of Fire and Queen of Shadows. This for me is where this series starts to get really good, and this is like even one more step up. This is one of my favorite books in the series, and from here they just get better and better. I am loving my reread of this series. I'm having the best time finding little hints, finding little details, and like soaking up all of the little moments we get. And I'm finding that I'm enjoying some characters more on this read and some characters less on the reread. So I wonder how my opinion will change over the years as I continue to reread this series. But this is definitely a comfort series for me, and I will keep reading and rereading these books hopefully for the rest of my life. All right, y'all, I promise we are almost done. We are on our final genre, which is fantasy romance. So first up, we have the Guild Hunter series. I read 2 books in this series, Archangel's Viper and Archangel's Heart. I think this series just keeps getting better and better with each book. It is really long. I think we're currently at like 16 or 17 books in this series, and Nalini Singh is not finished, but I read books 9 and 10, and I'm determined to catch up on this series by the end of the year. This is following Elena and Raphael. She is a vampire hunter and he is an archangel, and in each book the world just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and like I'm so intrigued at where the story is going right now. And not every book follows Elena and Raphael. Some of them follow like someone in his cadre, and this book follows Venom, which is like one of his 7, and I really loved Archangel's Viper. This is probably one of my favorite books in the series so far. If you like Crescent City, if you like urban fantasy, definitely check this book out. The first book is Guild Hunter, I believe. It's the Guild Hunter series, and I highly recommend to anyone who really likes urban fantasy, fantasy romance. This is like the OG. This is where Sarah J. Maas gets a lot of her inspiration for Crescent City, and you can definitely see that throughout the books. Like she's heavily influenced in all of her series by this series, so if you're a Sarah J. Maas fan, check this one out. I also read quite a few popular new fantasy romance releases. We'll start with The Windweaver by Julie Johnson. I was incredibly interested in this one because of the hype around it, and for me it didn't quite reach the hype that I was anticipating. I did give it 4 stars. This book follows our main character who is half fae, and the humans don't like the fae. They are searching them out, they are hunting them down, and they are unaliving them, and our main character ends up in the hands of one of the main generals of that army, but something isn't right to her. And she starts discovering stuff about herself and about the Fae and about the humans and kind of this internal war that she has not been privy to. And it's really interesting. I think there was something that just fell a little flat for me in the romance between our FMC and our MMC. And I'm wondering if it's going to be like a little bit of a Tamlin situation is kind of the vibes I'm getting. And I don't know how many books are in this series. However, if you are a fan of ACOTAR, if you are a fan of Shield of Sparrows, I would recommend this book to you because I think that it really hits for fans of specific tropes and moments within both of those books. I don't know why, that's just the way my brain works. So if you're a fan of either of those books series, go ahead and check out The Windweaver. Unfortunately, it's not on Kindle Unlimited, but it is at your local library. Then I read Rebel Witch, the finale to the Crimson Moth duology, and to be honest, I was a little disappointed with this book. I don't know what I wanted, but it was more than what this book gave me. I really loved Heartless Hunter, and I think there was just something off about this book, and I think it's because our FMC and our MMC do not spend the time together that I want them to spend together. I don't feel like they worked out their problems until like 85% into this book, and that's incredibly frustrating for someone who wants the main characters to be together. I think I ended up giving it 3.5 stars because the ending really did pull it out for me, but I was a little disappointed. I mean, it's still a great series. I would say it's a 4-star series for me, but I just was wanting more. I also read The Wolf King by Lauren Palfreyman. I was seeing this quite a bit over the summer, and I haven't really seen many people read it recently. I'm already on book 2. I had such a good time reading this book. This is a wolf shifter, like paranormal fantasy romance. Our FMC is a princess of the Southlands, like where the humans live, and there's a rivalry, a war going on between the wolves and the humans, and our FMC gets taken by one of the alphas and brought to the Northlands, and she kind of begins to discover that not everything may not be as it seems, and her father may have been lying to her her entire life. She has a little bit of a romance with the alpha, or a little bit of attraction with the alpha. I do think there's a little bit of a love triangle that this book is setting up for in the future. This is a trilogy. Books 1 and 2 are currently out. I think if you are a paranormal fantasy romance girly, if you like a love triangle, if you like an alpha character, read this. It was so good. It's on Kindle Unlimited. And last but certainly not least, I read Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. I read this a few months ago, but I'm still thinking about this all the time. She just announced that book 2 is coming out in the spring, I believe, and I cannot wait for the sequel. I do feel like so much happens in this book, especially in the last like 20%, 10%. It's like a fire hose, like being for the last 10%, and like I kind of feel like I need to reread it before book 2 comes out. Our main character is a princess, and she is kind of used as a pawn to negotiate a treaty between another kingdom, and she's essentially married off to this other kingdom by her father. When she goes to this other land to be their princess, their queen, she's discovering that there are a lot of things that she hasn't been told in her life, and she has to decide if she wants to be a good spy for her father, or if she wants to help the people that she is now currently living with. I think this premise was so interesting. I loved the little twists and turns we got. I think the writing is really great. I think one thing with Devney Perry that I don't love in her like contemporary romances is how quick the romances happen, but I do feel like she kind of drags it out for a long time. Like this is such a slow burn, and I think that's to its benefit because you really do feel the tension. You understand like the stakes that are in place in this world, and it's action-packed. There's so much happening, and I really feel like this is an incredible first book to a new fantasy romance series, and especially the fact that this is Devney's first fantasy romance like kind of blows me away. Highly recommend this book, especially if you're kind of like on the fence about KU fantasy romances in general, like I usually am. This is one of the better ones I've read, and I highly recommend. All right, so there you have it, my friends, the 31 books that I read in June, July, and August. If you made it through this video, go ahead and give me a little wave emoji. I do live at the beach, and we are kind of getting into fall, but it's still 80 degrees, and we're still doing beach days here. So I'm still living in summer, but thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and hopefully I will catch you in the next one soon. Bye.